environment here is really special because everyone here wants to go to college and everyone knows that they have the ability to get into college.
What really sets classical apart is the Paideia learning style. It creates a very unique classroom because instead of learning solely through lectures, teachers are able to employ a variety of methods. So in addition to your normal instruction, students are also able to participate in seminars and coach projects where you really can take charge of your learning and you can learn from your peers, and that really leads to an environment where you learn a lot more.
One of the things that classical did for me, it taught me to be a thinker, a learner.
Created in 1996, Classical Magnet was a premier high school in Hartford, Connecticut, drawing students from Hartford and its surrounding communities. The principal believed in the idea of private school education with the accessibility of a public school. Classical Magnet offered hundreds of extracurricular activities, dozens of yearly grade field trips, and many other factors that made it stand out among the other schools in the area. But recent state budgets have limited the programs and activities that made the school as great as it was.
Things look pretty grim when you hear the news about the budget for this coming year at the state level, and for like several years to come. You hear the predictions.
The enrichment program is basically what made classical so popular in its heyday. You know, we have all of these programs that you normally wouldn't see at a school, you know, like karate or, you know, building sets. And for all of these programs to be cut, it limits the perspective you can have on these things that you could do other than schoolwork.
Budget deficit for the Board of Ed is a product of the same problems the city's having, which is an inability to raise revenue through the normal tax structure, a decrease in state and federal funding, and then other contractual arrangements which lead to salary increases, healthcare benefits, pension costs. And I believe in the last 7 years, the city has flat funded the Board of Ed, so they've never received any increases.
I mean, it's absolutely going to affect our schools. It already is. I mean, this year we eliminated behavior techs, we eliminated behavior tech positions, we eliminated guidance counselor positions, and I mean, these are like the critical supports that we need in our schools to address like basic things about the learning environment so that learning can take place.
The lack of state funding has not only affected the quality of the education, but also the attitude and morale of both staff and students.
The first way I can think of that the budget cuts have affected behavior is, if I'm honest, it's on everybody's mind. And this is something that I've heard just in passing from different students. This broke school, or this school's out of money anyways, or yeah, this school is so broke. I hear those phrases all the time, and I feel like when those are the things that people are willing to say, what else are they thinking? And how are all these thoughts affecting their behavior?
The funding for schools in Connecticut depends on the number of students enrolled. The reason that a school as great as Classical Magnet only has half of the students usually enrolled in 6th grade is because of the court case, Sheff versus O'Neill.
Enrollment has been down significantly in the last 2 years for 6th and 7th grade. We're operating capacity of about 45% perhaps. Now, the issue is that because of Sheff, you have, with court orders and agreements between the plaintiffs and defendants, you have not quotas, but you have ratios that have to be met.
A lot of the reason why the budget for classical has shrunk is also because the enrollment at classical has shrunk, and it's kind of like a vicious cycle. The interesting thing about a school like classical and some of our other magnet schools is there's not a lack of applicants. I mean, classical has a very long waiting list of students to get in, but yet it has half of its to get in for 6th grade, but yet half of the 6th grade is empty. So, I mean, these are things that we really have to ask ourselves, like, why is that happening?
When those ratios become unbalanced, you cannot then draw in other students that would further create further racial imbalance. So in other words, we have had students on our wait list who might be African American perhaps or Latino, but they can't get into the school because that will further increase the racial imbalance that Sheff kind of created. And so partly what we're experiencing is that our budget is directly affected because of that, because we're a student-based budget. And for a small school, you know, each student represents so many dollars that the district, from where they come from, or the city of Hartford, gives to the school for its budget.
Boils down to our state delegation and our city council members and the Board of Ed and coming out and talking at board meetings. I mean, certainly, you know, I can say, like, I come and talk at board meetings about these issues. So you are advocating to the elected officials and the appointed officials, in the case of the Board of Ed, who are responsible for making these decisions about the allocation of resources. I think that's one of the biggest things people can do, is learn, educate themselves, and then advocate to the people who are responsible.
For students like us, I think what's most important is being able to be cognizant of how our education may differ from someone else's, if we're on the privileged side or if we're on the less privileged side, and then also what we can do to help within our own school communities. For example, fundraising as much as you can, if your school is lacking funds for student activities, or anything similar to that.
The problem is that no one seems to have any real solutions to solve the issue. With the deficit expected to grow drastically in the next fiscal year, there will undoubtedly be countless more cuts in the schools. All we can do is hope that a solution is found before it is too late.
I ain't rich, but I damn sure wanna be. Working like a dog all day ain't working for me. I wish I had a rich uncle that'd kick the bucket and I was sitting on a pile like Warren Buffett. I know everybody says money can't buy happiness,